Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about some of the nonsense we see all the time about form online. And I am not saying there's not such thing as good form, there's not such thing as perfect form for a person, for a specific goal. But all too often we see people come in online, they chime in, they don't know anything about a person's anatomy, their history. They oftentimes can't even assess that person's levers. And they start looking at big lifts, small lifts, ranges of motion with no concept of what they're looking at. And the common ones that we see are things like the back squat. The back squat is a big one. And you guys have seen me squat some pretty respectable weight. I've also shown clients squatting as much as like 615, things like that, raw. Okay. All right, raw with no sleeves. So I do know a little bit about squats. And the thing is, you'll see most good coaches will chime in when people comment. They'll see someone squat online. They go, wow, that's a good morning squat there. Or their forward lean is too excessive. And it's like, but it's not a good morning, right? When you see what they're doing. So that's a perfect example. They think that everyone is supposed to be upright. Well, that's going to depend on your levers. Ooh, right? It's going to depend on bar placement. It's going to depend on levers. In fact, you can almost predict based on someone's torso versus femur length and where they place the bar of how much forward lean they have to have. Okay, but you'll see people who clearly don't know that. They'll see a longer femored lifter and they will be almost, I don't want to say 90 degrees from the floor, but they'll be pretty bent over pretty dang far. Like I've seen people who are literally almost like at a 30-degree incline from the floor. Imagine it's looking like a 30-degree incline bench, and then people freak out. But then you look at their moment arms. You're like, oh, wow, they have really long femurs, and they don't have a long torso, right? So what do we expect? They have to have forward lean. And particularly the lower the bar goes down their back, the more forward lean that is. And that's not an incorrect squat. Because here's the thing. When you start looking at any big barbell lift, any standing lift, what is the master cue? Everybody knows this. What is the master cue? Where should the bar be relative to your center of gravity? On every standing barbell lift, all of them. The standing press, a push press, a front squat, a back squat, a good morning, a barbell row, an upright row. Anyone know? Come on. Midfoot. The bar should stay above your midfoot at all times as long as you are standing. Now, of course, on a box squat, you're going to see it come back just a hair. Okay? But on the way back up, midfoot. Think about basic anatomy. Because if it doesn't stay midfoot, you got a problem. If it goes in front of the foot, it turns into a good morning. And if it exceeds your body weight, you'll dump the bar. You'll miss the lift. You cannot successfully complete the lift when that happens. If it goes behind the midfoot and you don't have a box or something to touch, what happens? You'll fall backwards. You will fall on your butt. So the amount of forward lean is already predetermined. Okay? Let me state that again. The amount of forward lean is already predetermined to the exact degree, as long as you go deep enough. Where that person then places the bar on their back will determine that. Obviously, they'll be a little more upright with a higher bar, and the further down the back, the more it has to go. Why? Because the bar has to stay midfoot. This is basic stuff, people. Basic stuff. And if someone doesn't know that, if you don't know that basic first year starting strength stuff, you have no business talking to anybody about form. Like if you literally did not know the answer to that master cue, you should have no business instructing any human being on the face of the earth how to perform a lift. You have no business training anybody. You have no business giving lifting advice on any barbell lift to where a person stands. You're underqualified. Like you don't even have a novice level knowledge. Like guys, that is stuff that you should know 6 months into your lifting journey. And if you don't, you see the point? But people don't know things like that and they start giving that advice. And it's like you have no business. Same thing, you look at ranges of motion, you got to look at what someone's shoulder joints do. What is their range of motion? What's their injury history? What are they trying to do with the exercise? Okay? And sometimes you just have to look at limb lengths and go, oh, that person clearly can't do whatever that's supposed to be. Okay? They clearly can't. You might look at their arm lengths versus their grip width on a pull-up and determine, can that person actually touch their chest to the bar? They may or may not. And sometimes you can look at their structure and tell if they can. And it's going to depend on how wide they grip it. See what I mean? This is structural stuff. But people aren't looking at these things. They're only thinking what they think an exercise should look like instead of looking at the individual. All right, then what about injury histories? What about training histories? All right, people, what about their goals? You have to look at what they're doing with the chest presses. Are they training it for powerlifting? Are they training that exercise for bodybuilding? Okay? Right? You have to think about those things and ask, what are they trying to do? Now, some things are bad form, some things are not. Even cheat reps, ego lifting. We can tell some stuff's obviously ego lifting. Other things, you can look at a looser form and go, yeah, but you can see that they're keeping tension on the muscle. So you might see someone who cheats a little bit on a curl, a really serious bodybuilder, but you watch their curl and you realize they never lost tension on the muscle. They're just using a small amount of English. They might be getting a little eccentric overload, right? But you notice the bicep never loses tension through the entire rep. Well, does it matter if they're cheating a little? Probably not. They maintain tension. But that's usually someone who has a good mind-muscle connection. They know what they're doing. You see a noob swinging a little bit on a curl or something, yeah, it's probably not a good thing. Okay? Not a good thing. But that's the problem. You know, people don't know basic biomechanics and they start chiming in thinking because they were taught something with a squat that's the back angle that should exist, and they're not looking at the structure of the person. Or they're not looking at the type of squat they're doing. Obviously, the lower the bar is on the back, the more you're going to lean forward. And it's also going to be sometimes less stress on the low back. Because again, the same thing. Think of the length of the moment arm versus the angle. Right? Basic physics. Basic physics, guys. This is entry-level physics. High school level physics. Not college or university level. You should be able to look at a moment arm and then realize, oh yeah, that makes sense. It might be actually less stress on their back than the high bar, or at least equal. Okay? Look at the length of the moment arm versus where the weight is placed, versus the angle that they're dropping into. Right? Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to people. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.